Hey everybody, welcome to day 4 of distance learning. Today we're doing lesson 10, tax and tip. So we're going to talk a little bit about sales tax and tip later. I'll tell you more about what that is as we move on. So the warm-up, it's a what do you notice, what do you wonder? So we're on vacation and you want to buy a pair of sunglasses for $10 or less. You find a pair with a price tag of $10. The cashier says the total cost will be $10.45. So what do you notice about this situation and what do you wonder? 5 minutes, one thing you notice, one thing you wonder. All right, so I'm gonna jot down a few things about what I notice and what I wonder. So one thing I notice is that the sunglasses are $10. But the total was more. The total was $10.45. So we have an additional 45 cents on there. Well, what do I wonder? I wonder why. Where did that extra 45 cents come from? Was this an accident? So is this an accident? Where did the extra 45 cents come from? Okay, hint, hint. This is tax. So tax is something that the government issues. You have different types of tax. You have a state tax, you have a federal tax, you have a county tax, and you can even have a city tax. So there's a bunch of different taxes that you have. So, and it's actually different everywhere you go. So I remember at Burger King when I worked there in high school, our tax was about 8%, and so we sold ice cream cones. You could get one ice cream cone for 50 cents, and so one ice cream cone after tax was 54 cents. 2 ice cream cones were $1.08. I had those memorized, and obviously I still do have those memorized. And so it really just depends on where you go. So actually one thing is on the south side of Columbia, you're going to find a higher tax rate, especially if you go to the Walmart, because they have a higher tax rate for the roads there. Weird. It's very weird. Okay. So shopping in 2 different cities. You have 2 different cities and their tables. We have the same exact items and they are the same exact price. But if you notice, they have different tax rates, which is going to give us a different total price. We are going to complete the table and find the tax rates for each of these cities. I'm going to go ahead and explain kind of how they figured this out. So we don't know what the tax rate is. However, the tax rate is going to be what we multiplied by to go from 8 to get the 48 cents. So to figure out what the tax rate is, I'm actually going to take the tax that's given to us. I'm going to divide it by 8. That's the price. So that is going to be 0.06, or if I multiply that by 100, 6%. Okay, so my tax rate is 6% here. Let's double check. $1.50 divided by $25 is going to give me that same 6%. So 0.06. And then they got the total price by adding the price and the tax. And that's how they got their total price. So, really quick, that's Sioux City 2. Well, 0.64 divided by 8 is 0.08, or multiplied by 100, and that gives me 8%. So we have a 6% tax rate in City 1 and an 8% tax rate in City 2. Obviously, City 1 has a smaller tax rate. Okay, I would like you to try and fill out the rest of the table and take about 5 minutes. Come back to me once you're done. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish filling out the table by taking my total prices and multiplying it by that sales tax. So I'm going to write down here. So my tax rate is 6%, which equals 0.06. Okay. So 1 times 0.06 is going to be 0.06. Now $12 times 0.06 is going to give me 0.72 or 72 cents. Okay. We will come back to X. And now to get my total price, I'm just adding these two columns together. So 25 plus $1.50 is going to be $26.50. $1 plus 6 cents is going to be $1.06. $12 plus 72 cents is $12.72. Okay, so what we did here, we took our price, multiplied it by our tax rate, and then to get the total price, we added these two columns together. So if my price is X, I would take my tax rate and multiply it by X. Remember, since there's nothing in between these, the number and the variable, that means they're being multiplied. So then my total price, well, I'm going to add X plus 0.06X. So X is actually 1X plus 0.06X. I am going to actually simplify this. 1X plus 0.06X. I can add these numbers together to simplify this. So this is actually going to be 1.06X. Okay, so that means for X, I can substitute absolutely any price and I should get my total price. So I'm going to double check. So if I multiply 1.06 times the original price, 8, I do get 8.48 like they gave us. So now 25 times 1.06 gives me 26.50. If I multiply 1 by 1.06, it's 1 times anything is that number. So 12 times 1.06, 12.72. Okay, so we're on the right track. If you have yet to do so, go ahead, take 5 minutes here and try shopping in, and try City 2. All right, so my new tax rate was 8%. Remember, we figured that out by dividing 0.64 divided by 8, and I get 0.08, which if I multiply by 100 would give me the percent, 8%. So 8% or 0.08. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply everything by I'm going to multiply my price by 0.08. So 1 times 0.08 is 0.08 or 8 cents. 12 times 0.08 is 0.96 or 96 cents. So now I'm going to figure out my total price the same way I did with City 1, and I'm going to add these two columns together. 25 plus $2 is $27 even. $1 plus 8 cents is $1.08. $12 plus 96 cents is going to be $12.96. All right. So now we're going to find the price for any item, just like we did with the first city. Well, to go from price to tax, we multiplied by our tax rate, or 0.08. So 0.08 times X, because X is any price for any item. And my total price, I would add these together. So again, normal X is really just 1X plus 0.08X. Now I can add these together like the last problem, and I'm going to have 1.08x. All right. Okay. All right. So now we're going to talk about dining at a restaurant. So we have this ticket over here, and this is from Jada's Meal. She adds up all the prices listed on the menu for everything they ordered, and she gets a subtotal of $42. Okay, so that's what that subtotal is. It's all of these added together, and that's what the subtotal is. Now, if you notice, we also have a sales tax and then a total. So when the check comes, it says they also need to pay $3.99 in sales tax. What percentage of the subtotal is the sales tax? So this means I'm going to take the sales tax out of the subtotal. So remember, to find a percentage, you take the part out of the whole and multiply by 100. And that equals our percentage. So the subtotal is going to be our whole in this case, and my sales tax is the part. So I'm gonna have $3.99 out of $42, and then I'm gonna multiply by 100 and see what I get. 3.99 divided by 42 gives me 0.095, and when I multiply by 100, I'm going to get 9.5. So this is 9.5%. Okay, that is actually my sales tax rate. That's my tax rate. So the tax would be 9.5%. Okay, so after tax, the total is now $45.99. Okay. What percentage of the subtotal is the total? So this might be where you get confused, because you're going to want to say, well, the total is our whole and the subtotal is our part. However, in how it's wording it, the subtotal is our whole. It wants to know out of the subtotal how much is the total. So our total goes on top, which is $45.99. Out of the subtotal, which is $42. So now I'm going to do $45.99 divided by 42. It's going to give me 1.095, and I'm going to multiply by 100. That's going to give me 109.5%. Okay, so what's interesting about this is that the sales tax is 9.5% of the subtotal, while our total is 109.5% of the subtotal. So this is kind of obvious because, well, the total is the sales tax, which in our, is the subtotal, which in our case is 100%. And then the sales tax is 9.5%. So we added the subtotal and the sales tax to get our total. So 100 plus 9.5% is going to be 109.5%. So that's why these two answers kind of make sense. So now it says they actually paid $52.99. The additional 7%, $7 is a tip for the server. That's not a good tip. What percentage of the subtotal is the tip? So again, our subtotal is what we're looking at now. The subtotal is our whole still in this case, and the tip is now our part. So $7 out of the 42 times 100. So 7 divided by 42 is 1.6. I'm sorry, 0.16 repeating. Multiply by 100 and it's 16.6 repeating. So 16, I'm gonna round it to 16.67%. Okay, so that is the tip percentage of the subtotal. Okay. So now let's go ahead and look at the second part of this. So the tax rate at this restaurant is 9.5%. So that's the same that we got over here, 9.5%. So another person's subtotal is $24.95. How much will their sales tax be? So here's their receipt. And did you see the sales total and the total is, the sales tax and the total is blank. So we're gonna go ahead and find the sales tax. So if I'm trying to find 9.5% of $24.95, then first of all, I need to turn 9.5% into a decimal. So 9.5% as a decimal, remember to turn a percent into a decimal, you take the percent and divide it by 100. I get 0.095. So then to find a percent of a number, you take that decimal, the percent you turned into a decimal. So you take that decimal and you multiply it by what you're trying to find the percent of. So that'd be $24.95 times 0.095. And when I do that, I'm going to get 2.37025. Well, the sales tax is supposed to end up in terms of money. Obviously, this is not in terms of money. So I'm going to round it to the second decimal spot. That's the hundredths place. So I'm going to look at the number next to my hundredths place, and that's a 0. So that is less than 5. So I'm going to leave my 7 alone, and I'm just going to knock those guys off. So it's really $2.37. So that is going to be the sales tax for the first person. So now the second person says that their sales tax, which for some reason is the only thing given to them, their sales tax is $1.61, and it wants to know how much their subtotal was. So I'm going to set up an equation, kind of like we did up here, but now I don't have this number right here. I am missing that number, and I was given the answer. So I'm going to give my subtotal a variable. That subtotal, I'm going to say, we'll use the variable X, because we always use X. So the sales tax is $1.61. That's the answer that we got after we multiplied those. So the way I'm going to set this up is 0.095 times X equals $1.61. And that X is the subtotal. Just like we did up here, the subtotal times the tax rate equals the sales tax. The tax rate times the subtotal equals the sales tax. Now I need to solve. So I'm going to draw my line through the equal sign. 0.095 is multiplying X. So to undo multiplying, I need to divide by the sales tax, 0.95. I'm going to do that on both sides to stay balanced. And so now I'm going to do 1.61 divided by 0.095. I'm going to get 16.94736842, and this actually is just going to keep going on. And so I'm going to round this again to money terms. And so I want to round it to the hundredths place. So now I'm going to look at this 7, and this 7 is greater than 5. So I'm going to bump 4 up 1 to 5, and I'm going to leave all of this out. So this is now going to be 16.95. So $16.95 was their subtotal. Okay. Okay. Now, where did we see and use fractional percentages in this lesson? So when I say fractional percentages, I mean percentages that had decimals. They weren't a full percentage. Well, we saw them here. We saw them here. We ended up with a percent here and here. And those actually were not percentages. However, we did use 9.5% to figure that out. So we saw it in sales tax. Now, what are strategies we can use to calculate fractional percentages, including sales tax? Well, the first thing we did, tables. The second thing we did is we set up equations. And you can always use a double number line. Okay. So after this lesson, you should be able to solve problems about sales tax and tip by setting up an equation, finding a table, anything like that. Okay, do not forget, you now have Go Formative. I'm sorry, 4.10. So, lesson 4, I'm sorry. Unit 4, lesson 10. Okay, guys, don't forget to do the Go Formative, please. I will see you all tomorrow.